So the first thing you want to do is figure out what's the base of the log. So what's the little bitty number you see in the ground next to log? A 2. So, and I know you don't have a lot of space, so you might have to write at the bottom or at the top. But I'm going to make a table for y equals 2 to the power of x. Now, I'm not going to graph it. I'm just going to make our table. So the first step when you see this on your skills check is to make your exponential table. Now you don't have to graph this table, and you really don't have to make this table. Some students can skip it and go right to the other one, but I feel the majority of us need to do our exponential table and then flip it. Who has these y values memorized? Because they're always the same y values. Yep, 0.5, 1, 2, 4, and 8. You're just multiplying by 2 all the way down. 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. All right, so now let's flip this table. We're not going to graph it. So all of these numbers are going to go here. And then all of our y values will go here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's flip our table. And then we're done with this table. We don't need this anymore. All right, so now let's look at let's look at this equation here. So the number in front of log is a 1, so a equals 1. What would h be? What is our h value in this equation? Look in the parentheses and flip the sign. So Babacar, what's h? Look in the parentheses and flip the sign. -1, which is going to make it go left 1. And then Olivia, what's our k value? That's the number in the back. So our k value would be -3, which is going to move it down 3. So remember our h value here, that goes with our domain and our vertical asymptote. So our domain would be x is greater than -1, and our vertical asymptote is x equals -1. And our range is all real numbers. So let's go to our table now and do our transformations. We're going to add the -1 to our x values and then subtract 3 from our y values. So I'll give you a minute. Pick up a calculator. If you don't have one, grab one off a desk. So you're adding -1 to all of your x values and subtracting 3 from your y values. right, go ahead and compare your table and graph. Now I did draw in that purple wall. That's our vertical asymptote. That would be x equals -1. That's where the graph cannot cross. Any questions about our bell work? So I can't quite remember when our skills check is, but you will have to graph a log on that skills check. I want to say it's Wednesday. All right, so we're going to start with log properties today. We do have a lot to copy down, so I'm going to go ahead and go to our notes. I believe we're on page 6. So take a moment, copy down these properties, and then we'll talk through them together. So go to page 6 in your pink packet, copy down the properties, and then we'll talk about it together.
Hello.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the properties. So this first one is, how do you rewrite a log? So if you have b to the power of e equals a, that can be written as log base, the answer equals the exponent. So that's something we already know. That's nothing new. This might be something new, but anytime you take the log of the number 1, your answer will be 0. And let me zoom in really quickly, and then I'll zoom back out. If these two numbers match, the answer is 1. So let's look at these properties. The first one is product. That's where multiplication separates to addition. A fraction separates to subtraction. And if you have a power, that power gets moved to the front. That's your 3 properties that we're going to talk about today and tomorrow. All right, anybody need more time to copy down the properties? Okay, so now let's talk about the steps, and then we'll get into practice. Steps to expand, that's the top of page 7. The first thing we're going to do is look for a fraction and separate that with subtraction. Then we're going to look for multiplication, separate that with addition. And if we have an exponent, we're going to move it to the front. So we're going to practice expanding our logs today. All right, anybody need more time copying down the steps? All right, let's get to it. So let's look at this first example here. Do we have a fraction? Does anybody see a fraction? All right, so the first thing we're going to do is separate that with a subtraction. The numerator and the denominator are going to split apart. So you're going to have the log of the numerator minus the log of the denominator. That's the first step. Separate the fraction with the subtraction sign. Now, the biggest mistake would be to write it as just log of 5y minus x to the fourth. I'm not saying you split the fraction with the subtraction sign. When you do that, each term has its own special log. Then you're going to see if there's anything being multiplied. Now these are actually two terms. This is a 5 times a y. This is multiplication. So we need to break that apart with addition. So that's going to become the log of 5 plus, the log of y, and then everything else I'm just going to rewrite. I'm just rewriting all of this. So then that would be minus log x to the fourth. And then the last thing you're going to do is if you see an exponent, we're going to move it to the front. So 5 doesn't have an exponent. Y doesn't have an exponent. But this x does. So we're going to move that here, right to the front. So it would be log of 5 plus the log of y minus 4 times the log of x. And that would be your final answer. So the 3 steps: we look for a fraction, split that up with subtraction. We look for multiplication, we split that up with addition. And then we look for exponents and we move it to the front. All right, let's look at question 2. Do you see any fractions in this one? No, so we don't have any subtraction. So what we're going to do, though, is because we have 3 terms, these are each terms. we're going to break these apart with addition. So that would be log little bitty 3 of 4 plus log little bitty 3 x squared plus log little bitty 3 y 8. See how I ended up with 3 logs with an addition sign in between them. And then if you see any exponents, we move those exponents to the front. So this 2 gets moved here and this 8 gets moved here. So my final answer would be log little bitty 4 plus 2 times the log little bitty 3x plus 8 times the log little bitty 3y. That's an ugly 8. Let me make that cuter. And that would be your final answer. Any questions about number 2? All right, let's look at number 3. Do we have a fraction in number 3? Yes. So the first thing we're going to do is separate a fraction with what? Subtraction. So we're going to have ln, which is a log, and then we'll have 3w minus the natural log of y to the 4th. Now, do we have anything being multiplied? We do, yeah. This 3 and the w, we need to break them up. Can't, we don't, Logs, we break it up. So we're going to break up that 3 and the w. They're being multiplied, so what am I going to break them up with? How do you separate multiplication? Addition. So that would be the natural log of 3 plus the natural log of w minus the natural log of y to the 4th. The last thing we need to do is look for any exponents. Do we have any exponents anywhere? Yes or no? Yeah, we do. This y has an exponent, so that 4 is just going to move and park itself right in front of that log. So it's just going to move and park itself right in front. So that's going to give us the natural log of 3 plus the natural log of w minus 4 times the natural log of y. And that is your final answer. That's your final answer. That's the L. That means the natural log. It's a L. That's a LN for natural log. All right, we'll do our last one together, and then I'm going to have you do a couple on your own. So let's look at number 4. Do we have a fraction in number 4? We do. So the first thing we're going to do is split this apart. This top minus the bottom. So that'll be log little bitty 5 of the top minus log little bitty 5 of the bottom. That's your first step. If you see a fraction, break it apart with subtraction. And then we're going to see, do we have anything being multiplied? Thumbs up if you see something multiplied. Yeah. We can't, we got to break them up. Logs are haters of relationships. We break them up. These two right here, we got to break them up. They're being multiplied, so we break it up with what? Addition. So that would be a log little bitty 5 of a 9 plus log little bitty 5b to the 5th. And now I'm just rewriting everything that I had in the back. Minus log little bitty 5 y squared. So now everybody is broken apart. We need to see, do we have any exponents? And anytime there's an exponent, it gets moved right to the front of its log. So this 5 is going to move and park itself right there in front. This 2 drives and parks itself right there in front. So my final answer is log base 5 of 9 plus, and then we'll have 5 times the log base 5 of v minus 2 times the log base 5 of y. In the end, you'll know you're done when you don't see anything together. There shouldn't be anything together, nothing multiplied, nothing divided, and no powers. Then this would be my final answer. So I want you to skip to the next page and go all the way to the bottom. To the very, very bottom where it says practice expanding and condensing. And I want to see you all do number 1. I'm going to come around. I'm going to give you a couple minutes. I want you to try to do number 1 on your own. It's at the very bottom of page 8. The very bottom. Yep. Do you see any fractions in this question? No. So you shouldn't have any subtraction. When you're done, how many logs do you think you're going to have? Show me with your fingers. How many logs will you have when you're done? 3. Good job. The 16 is going to have a log. The x is going to have a log. And the z3 is going to have a log. So we're at the very bottom of page 8. So take a minute, and I want you to try to work through that one. And then I'm going to come around and see what you all come up with. That was not bad at all. All right, let's break it apart. So we got log little bitty 4 of 16 plus the log little bitty 4 of x plus the log little bitty 4 of z cubed. Did any of these have an exponent? Because of that last one, we do have to do one more. Now, if that wasn't there, we'd be done. But we have to move that 3 and drive it and park it right in front. So it would be a log base 4 16 plus log base 4 x plus, and then we have that 3. And that would be a log base 4 z. All right, let's look at this next one together. So we have a fraction this time, so we're going to start by separating it with subtraction. And now we need to break it apart with addition. How many logs do you think we're going to have in the end? Show me with your fingers. How many logs do you think we're going to have? 4. Yeah. Because we're going to break this apart to 2, and then this gets broken apart to 2. So those are being multiplied, so we're going to break them apart with addition. So I'll have a log base 3 plus a log base x. Bring down the subtraction sign. We have a log. I didn't mean to say log base. It's a log of 2. The base is 10, so it's not the base. So then we have log of 2 plus log of y squared. Now, if it wasn't for that one little exponent, we'd be done. We got to move that 2 and park it right in front. So we have log of 3 plus log of x minus log of 2 plus 2 times the log of y. Now, this is the first time that we've had 2 things in the denominator. When this happens, we do need to add a parentheses. We need to add parentheses around everything because there is 2 things that came after the subtraction sign. If it was just one thing, but there's 2, we need to put parentheses around it. All right, so now let's talk about homework 2. Can you write, first of all, homework 1 is due today. Can you write homework 2 is due on Wednesday?